I think we wanted to open it up to the audience here. If anyone has a question, just make sure to use the mic.
I'm David Gale from MTV. What about independent film?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You didn't answer.
I didn't want to ask it.
I have been talking to a lot of independent film producers and directors and writers, of which many of my friends are in that industry. It is really hard to make money in independent film these days. As you know, theatrical release costs and marketing costs make it cost prohibitive for a lot of high-quality independent films. There are alternative channels, whether it's VOD or otherwise. And of course, if you can get picked up and become Little Miss Sunshine and get a lot of media attention, it can be very profitable. But for the most part, people aren't making a lot of money. And the problem is that's the highest quality artistically of what we produce. So what I've been saying is, if you're starting your career in independent film, what I would do is distribute it for free. What do I mean? If you can produce your first film for $200,000 or $400,000, and maybe you could use Kickstarter or something similar to help finance it, release it, and what you want is the long-term asset. And this is what I think the media industry hasn't understood. The long-term asset, the goose, the golden goose. It's not your box office sales on your first film. It's email. Email. A friend of mine is a Grammy Award-winning artist named Chamillionaire. And what Chamillionaire told me, the way he started his career was he would make mixtapes. He would sell them out of the back of it, or he would give them out for free out of the back of his car in exchange for your email address. And he's like, that's free marketing for me. But that email address grew with every time he created new music to a point where all the studios, or all the labels rather, wanted to work with him. And then they were chasing him because he had this great asset. He was with Universal, and Universal was trying to crack down on piracy. And he was like, don't crack down. These are my future fans. This is how we're going to monetize in the future. So he went out to Dubai, he went out to China, he went out to Brazil, and he encouraged everyone to pirate it. As long as he would get email addresses, and as long as people would follow him on Twitter and Facebook and other places. So my mind is the goose is your fan base that you get to migrate from place to place. And I'll give you one last example, and then I promise to bring it back to film, which is Joel Spolsky used to write one of the most read things on software called Joel on Software. And back in the day, pre-blog, Twitter, that was what a lot of people read. And he built up this huge audience of which I was a big fan as someone following the software industry. And then, that kind of died down, blogs came or whatever. And Joel launched a new project called Stack Exchange. And he took that entire audience that used to follow him and said, oh, come use Stack Exchange. And that was his goose, was his audience. Stack Exchange now, I think, is probably worth more than $500 million from that audience. And so what I encourage people is to think about the goose. Think about your career arc in a 15-year period of time. Think about what investments you're going to make in the next 3 years to have this asset that you can produce. Think about how you're going to use social media. How are you going to get Twitter followers and Facebook followers? How are you going to keep a blog that promotes your craft? And I think if you think of life as a 15-year arc, as a film producer, you will make a lot more for yourself, and you don't necessarily need to distribute theatrical or through labels. And last thing is, if you are going to produce 15 films, or let's even just say 8 films over 15 years, right? You want to do longer form and highly artistic and increasingly more costly films. Every release you do is a chance for you then to promote your old films and find other ways to monetize, whether through merchandise. Like what Topspin does is they take audience segmentation for musicians, and they say, give away your stuff for free in exchange for email or Twitter followers, and then create a box set with physical signatures on it and sell it for $350, and sell T-shirts to the middle tier and give it away for free to the bottom tier. And think of it like a pyramid where you want marketing people at the bottom end of the pier, and you want to bring them up the stack and monetize them in different ways over time. So thank you for the question.